Today on the show, I have the pleasure of speaking with Keith Wasserman. Keith is the founder of Gelt Inc. And in 2008, he started his company. And in just 10 short years, he's grown it to over $1 billion in assets, mainly in multifamily and mobile home park infrastructure and assets. Really impressive that he's grown it to $1 billion in 10 years. He's also started Happy Homes Community, Demuso, Gelt VC, and Gelt Foundation, a non-profit that helps renters avoid eviction during unexpected financial troubles. I'm really pumped and excited to have him on the show to share his incredible experience and obviously his journey. But enough out of me. Let's get him out here. G'day, Keith. Welcome to the show. How you doing today, mate?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Reed. I'm excited to be on here.
Well, mate, I'm excited to have you on here. When I met you a few weeks ago, probably a few months ago now, at the Rod Cleef show, I was blown away. I saw this, relatively young guy on stage. I think you had some Etnies shoes on, and all of a sudden I hear that you have $1 billion in assets. That's incredible. I was like, I have to talk to this guy. So I know you're going to provide some absolutely cracking insight into your journey. But before we do get into that, can you rewind the clock and tell us how you made your first ever dollar as a kid?
Yeah. So I've always been very entrepreneurial, and in my household, we didn't really talk about, movies and sports, and we were always talking about business. And, my parents really helped me when I was, I think, 8 years old. We went to Costco and we bought boxes of candy bars, and then I would go to the park and sell them one by one to, all the children. And that was my first experience about learning to make money on the buy something wholesale, and then, sell retail. And I took that experience, and when I was 13, I had my bar mitzvah. I started investing all my bar mitzvah money and really learning to, invest for the future. When I was 16, I bought 100 leather jackets. My dad gave me a loan for $1,000, and one of my dad's friends that was in the clothing business taught me the skills of how to negotiate and how to not be afraid to ask, for what I wanted to pay for these things. And we negotiated, and I bought them for only $10 a piece. They were leather jackets that retailed for over $300. And the reason I got them so cheap is they were all IRs, irregulars, meaning they had some little blemishes or little stuff that if you look closely, maybe you would see. But, I bought them for $10 and I sold them for around $80 to $100. And, it was so much fun. Even though my whole car smelled like a leather jacket, it wasn't easy, bringing girls, on dates with a car full of leather jackets. But I would sell them to all the students and their parents and the janitors and the teachers. And, it just taught me how to negotiate and make money on the buy. You fast forward to when I was 18 and starting college, I learned about eBay. This was 2003. And I sold a family friend's item. It was like a used horse saddle that they gave me, and they said, go sell this on eBay. And I said, okay. I didn't know what eBay was. I looked into it, and it was awesome. It was an auction where we started the bidding low and let it bid up. And I couldn't believe how much this used horse saddle went for, like $150, $200 when it was something laying in their garage. So I started selling my own items on eBay, then started buying items, in downtown LA, and I went to auctions, and then I built a whole business on eBay. We sold around 200,000 items all through my 4 years in college.
Wow.
I would go to China and buy containers of clothing and electronics and DVDs and all kinds of general merchandise. And all through college, I ran a business. We had a warehouse in the San Fernando Valley here in Los Angeles, around 5,000 square feet. We had 13 employees. And I outgrew my parents' house. We had no room to put anything anymore. So I got kicked out, which is a good thing, and started paying real rent and scaled that business. And I graduated from USC, University of Southern California, in 2007. Got my broker's license in 2008 for real estate. Didn't know what I wanted to do in the space, but really wanted to learn more. My parents, my dad's an attorney, but had some real estate investments, and I knew that he always told me, don't be an attorney, even though he's a successful attorney, because there's only a certain amount of hours in the day you could bill. And he's made probably more money in real estate than in his law firm. So
wow.
I started small, and I bought a little four-unit building in Bakersfield, California, which is an hour and a half to 2 hours north of LA. Depends on how fast you drive. And then we got it with an FHA loan. So my partner, who's my cousin, was an independent consultant, and claimed he could live in one of the units and put it all in his name, the utilities, just whatever we needed to do to get into the game. And put only 3% down, or whatever it was, 2.5 to 3, I forget.
Wow.
$150,000 purchase. So we put only $4 or $5 grand down. We we got a cash advance on our credit card of $10,000. At that time, you could do that. And then we borrowed $5,000 from a friend, and that's what bought us our first 4-unit building. And then we bought another 4-unit building. I put the down payment. My cousin got on the loan. And then we sold like 49% of that LLC to an investor because we created value. We bought these as REO buildings. We renovated them, fixed them up, increased their value, sold them 49% of that LLC that owned those two. And then we bought a few more of these little fourplexes with that money. And yeah, we just started scaling and meeting more investors that participated in our deals. And we, started just growing organically. The first year from December of 2008 to December of 2009, we bought 15 fourplexes. We were like the biggest buyer of these kind of fourplexes in Bakersfield. There were so many REO, banged up buildings that were just people lost it through foreclosure. And we realized there's a real business model here. We made some friends that were, in the business, and we started buying bigger buildings by putting a smaller group of investors together. So one full year later, December of 2009, we bought a 78-unit building in Bakersfield, California called Vernon Vista. We bought it for $3.9 million. And we put maybe $300,000 into the property, renovated all this, all the siding, the fencing, there was a second clubhouse that was just shuttered and not open. We turned that into a gym, new washers and dryers, new clubhouse, just really brought life into the building and lifted the rents in the process and did really well for the investors. We ended up selling it for $6.5 million a few years after that. And they made great cash flow along the way. And yeah, I just sort of got addicted to, looking and hunting for deals, and real estate's great. You could take care of the buildings and see them improve and evolve. And we've built this business over the last 9 years, one building at a time and one investor at a time. It's a syndication business model. We have almost 600 individual investors now that are, all accredited and part of our network of investors. We call it part of the Gelt family. Mm-hmm. And we just crossed the 1.25 billion now of acquisitions, and about between apartments, around 7,500 apartments and around 1,000 mobile home park sites. So we are definitely growing, and it's getting tougher out there in this environment to find deals, but we're still, trying to zig when other people zag and find opportunities that other people don't see and stuff.
So from leather jacket salesman to over 1,000 mobile home park sites and 75 apartment communities, I'm assuming across the country, right?
Yeah. So apartments are Colorado and West. However, we are in contract to buy a 588 unit portfolio in Texas and San Antonio. So we are moving our way east into Texas. And then on the mobile home park front, we're not as picky on geographic locations because it's just very hard to break into that space. Not a lot of stuff trades. And we are in Pennsylvania and Alabama, in addition to some West Coast states. So we are, I'd say, apartments, we're focused on now Texas and West, and mobile home parks, we're pretty agnostic. As long as it's like 100 or 200, preferably 200 spaces and larger, right. We'll look at it. So
that's an absolutely incredible story of how you've scaled so quickly. And what the first burning question that comes to my mind is, how much of your success has been dictated to market entry at the right point, given that you entered the market in 2008, you said December 2008, and in 2009, you put your first multifamily under contract, and now, as I say, the rest is history. What level of the growth that you've experienced, how much have you put that on entering the market at the right time?
I'd say a really high percentage has been because we've been able to produce really good returns. I never wanted to sell any buildings, but we sold some to create a little liquidity for ourselves, but also to create the track record where the investors will then give that money back to us and then tell their friends and family.
Right.
That's what's enabled us to grow. I'm sure we would have grown in any kind of market, but I think having a solid bull market where rents have gone up a lot and, it's been a great time. You've seen cap rate compression. I think that has attributed to the speed at which we're scaling, but and I was at the right place at the right time during this era, but every so often there's a recession. I mean, it's like very cyclical. So right. Before this one, there was, 2001 was a recession. And then before that one, you had the early 90s. And before that one, I'm sure every so often, probably over the last 100 years, there's probably 5 to 10 recessions, So I always say the best time to start is now. And, we have long-term horizon, and we've really coached our investors to look for the long term. It's like the Warren Buffett adage, just buy and hold for the long term. And, it's time and inflation are real estate's best friends, is what I learned from one of my wealthy mentors. So,
no, you're completely correct. Time and inflation. If you have time on your side, your real estate's going to go well. So of that, are you buying with that in mind? Are you buying a lot of your assets with the adage to hold for 7, 10, 20 years time?
Yeah. So we put on usually 10 or even up to 12-year fixed rate debt. Most of it's Fannie and Freddie loans. And we do try to get as much interest only period as we can. It's a fixed rate for that duration. So we don't want to, we're a very conservative shop. We don't want to worry about interest rates rising and having a loan, floating or coming due in a short period of time. So we know what our interest rate's going to be every month for the next 10 to 12 years, which is really cool. I think we'll be able to waive any storms with that in mind. Plus, we also raise a lot of extra money up front, which will lower the cash on cash and the total return to the investors, but at the same time, give us that security that in case the rents drop significantly or an occupancy drops, we'll be able to make the mortgage payment and not go back to the investors and do a capital call. And we haven't had to, ever do that, but I'm sure in the future we'll have to halt distributions if the next recession comes. And I mean, the last recession, you had markets like Phoenix got hit like 20% from peak to trough, the rents dropped. So, if we stress test every deal, but we keep ample reserves and, try not to over leverage. Like we've pulled out some money on deals, but not gone to the max proceeds, for example. We're pretty conservative, and I'm only 33. I'm looking to do this for, keep it to 100, God willing. So,
Well, it's interesting that you say that, like only putting the agency debt on it. Have you ever put any bridge money on it in the last 10 years as you've grown?
We've done probably 3 bridge loans, and the reason we haven't done many is the deals we've been buying historically have been like modified value add or light value add. We're spending $3,000 to $10,000 per unit on renovation. The bridge loans obviously are shorter term, so you have that interest rate risk. We've done it on deals that are local here in LA and that have huge upside where, one deal, the rents were averaging $1,000 and, we totally re-tenanted the building and now it's like $2,500 or something.
Right.
So, something where we wanted, but mostly it's long-term fixed rate, Fannie, Freddie, not too many bridge loans.
Got it. So I want to get into the meat and potatoes and we've sort of already got into the meat and potatoes, but I want to really dive into and pick your brain about how you've grown your business to $1 billion in assets and maybe some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome throughout that process, because $1 billion in anything, whether it's real estate or, washing machines, because I'm sitting next to my washing machine right now, there's growth, right? And with growth, being a young guy, how have you navigated those waters? And I guess what's been the sort of maybe 2 or 3 things that you've taken away, lessons learned, issues that you've come across that's really have made you grow as an entrepreneur, but also as a leader?
Yeah, I'd say, I think we've been able to scale to this point. One is by being transparent and honest and open with our investors and always available. Whenever an investor calls, I always call them back within 24 hours. Whether I'm here or on vacation, they're the golden geese. Without investors, we wouldn't have the golden eggs. We wouldn't have a portfolio. We wouldn't have, same thing as like tenants. I say without residents, we wouldn't have, buildings that produce cash flow. So those are all very important ingredients to our success. I'd say other important ingredients are having the right team, having people that are dedicated and smart and intelligent and make good decisions and learn from their mistakes. And we try to empower all of our staff here and all the property management companies we work with and really sort of partner with them to make them feel, as our partner in these, deals. I'd say having, but the most important things like having good partners and that have the same principles and same values and are aligned with the same interest and have the same vision. I think that's really important too. So there's a lot of things that create the success, I think. So
have you created your business around any values or any sort of mantra that has helped you, obviously empowering employees is really important, but do you have sort of maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sort of key notes that you sort of, we are here to serve or, enrich people's lives or whatever it might be that you run your day, your business off from day to day?
Yeah, I'd say, for the residents, provide them with a clean, affordable, these are great. We're buying in A and B areas in the markets that we're in, but they're like the low cost leaders. So really provide them with, a good place to live that they can feel comfortable in. And I like these older buildings because they have like larger unit sizes compared to the newer buildings and more amenities. They're less dense. So that's been our specialty. And we call it run it like a Honda, which means take good care of the buildings, but don't over improve because you don't get that extra pop in the rent. So I'd say, which the people are thankful that they have this good place to live that's affordable. So I'd say, and then giving back has always been a big part of our mantra. And we, formed that 501c3, which we're in the process of forming our board right now. And my partner and I, Damien, we're covering all the costs. So we're spending around, for the full-time staff, and it's only one full-time employee, and then a couple part-time plus some interns, and like $125,000 a year we're spending every year. And any monies that we bring in will go out directly to those in need. Like I said, it's for people that are at risk of eviction due to financial crisis. And we've already given 33 grants. And the secret sauce we have is we have relationships with a lot of different management companies and self-managers, and they help identify residents in their portfolio that they want to keep, that have been there at least 9 months, that have been responsible renters, but have fallen upon a hardship financially. And we've had some great stories, and we're trying to elevate the level of, like, the landlord's always seen as like the bad landlord that keeps raising rents, but I want to elevate our image, and we're creating like a association of responsible landlords that will have this program on the properties. And our long-term vision is to deploy rental assistance to thousands and then tens of thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of people nationwide, and eventually maybe get some government funds behind it. Because I think the way rental assistance is deployed now is pretty broken. So I think that's the long-term vision for our foundation. But we've always been giving back to the communities we're investing in and involved in the boys and girls clubs, that are local, just really trying to give back. And I like giving back in the apartment space, which is cool because that's the business we're in. So
yeah, no, it is. And I think it gives you a higher purpose, right? Rather than just going out and buying a bunch of assets and jacking up the rents and not actually giving anything back and not giving a damn about your tenants. Because as you said, part of the special sauce is having investors, and they're the golden geese. The other golden geese are actually the tenants, and having tenants who want to stay and take good care of your property, because they trash the joint and you've got to keep spending $3,000 every year to turn a unit. It can become quite costly after a period of time.
And the foundation's been a win-win, because it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the landlord, obviously, because it'll prevent an eviction or a skip. It'll prevent, the repair and maintenance to the unit, the turnover and any downtime the unit will have. I mean, it could be $10,000+ which it's invaluable, and it's a win for society, because we believe some of these cases, a lot of the people could have been homeless. Some of them already were planning to go to like a homeless station, and we've helped a lot of veterans, and it's pretty cool. Like
that's awesome. That's awesome. And are you going out and actively raising, like doing foundation dinners and stuff like that, and speeches and events to raise capital for it?
Yes. So far, we've raised money from people we do business with. So any of the brokers, we try to get them to contribute. Depends on the size of the deal, $5,000, $10,000 or more. And then like some of the mortgage brokers and the insurance people we do business with, and some of our investors. And but long term, we're looking to eventually get some family foundations involved, and then at the city levels, try to get some federal dollars in and stuff. But for now, just grassroots movement.
And that's different to the happy home communities, correct? It's
that's just the mobile home park. That's the name of our mobile home park.
Got it.
And for all intents and purposes, it's all part of Gelt. But like, I wanted a separate name just in case we did eventually take maybe an institutional capital or went a different route with that venture. But for now, we're still syndicating those deals with the same investor base. But we call it. That's just the name we call it.
Nice. I want to get in. Fantastic that we're talking about your foundation, but I do want to pick your brain a little bit about scale and business ecosystems, because having $1 billion worth of assets, even, I own not quite as much, and one day maybe, but the fact is you can already see, and I talk a lot about on the show, business ecosystems. So how do you create other profit centers for your business that are more recession proof, like property management or sourcing directly from China, products, because you've already had experience of that. What have you brought in-house? And I heard you mention that you're still partnering with third-party property managers. Is that across your portfolio? And do you ever see it coming in-house to create more business ecosystems to keep the lights on?
We've intentionally not done property management. And the reason is it's just very people intensive. And I feel like I wouldn't have been able to scale as quickly if we had the property management, because there's continuous turnover, continuous issues. The biggest problems in business, I feel, are always the people. So I'd rather try to limit the number of staff I have, and pay. I'm happy to pay a management fee, which is a pretty reasonable commoditized kind of business, and just be very hands-on with those management companies, but don't have to have the responsibilities of. And we're in so many different markets, it would be a logistic nightmare. I think if potentially we were all in one market, maybe it would be easier to manage. But right now, we have no intention to doing the property management. We are managing some of the mobile home parks, though, just because it was tough to find really good management companies in different regions and stuff that are local. A lot of like mom and pops, not like professional, bigger management companies. So we are bringing some of those in-house right now. But for the apartments, we're happy to pay it's usually 2 to 3% of the gross revenue for these larger complexes. So
no, it makes sense. It makes sense. I also have the same mindset. It's like, what do I want to go start, right? Do I want to have the liability of having 30 employees that I've now got to feed, generate third party fees. So any other businesses, are you sourcing any more stuff from China because of your experience with the leather jacket industry?
We are doing some ground up development, and my dad goes to China every like 3-4 months for business. And we are going to start looking at maybe some, the materials for the development project from China. We started a separate business completely. It's a financial services business called Demuso, and we are actively displacing all the like legacy payment providers on these properties. So it's a completely different business, and it has a lot of the same investors and shareholders and stuff. But it's called Demuso, DOMUSO. You can check it out online. It's a web app, and we have right now, we're processing, I think, around $30+ million a month in total payments. Those are rent payments, any payment due to landlord, and we'll finance any payment due to landlord, which is really unique. And we're eliminating all cashier's checks and money orders, and we have guaranteed funds, certified funds to the property. Just a lot of innovation, and we have a lot of future innovation down the pipeline, all revolved around the payment of rent, which is very, very archaic and has been very inflexible forever. So it's a huge, $550 billion or whatever is paid in rent every year, and we're really growing. Our goal is to be industry standard for the way rent is paid and the process. And we're working with a lot of large management companies right now, and that company is based in Santa Monica, and it's its own separate animal, but we're growing and scaling that one really quickly. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. I remember when I first moved to the United States, my first ever paycheck was literally a paycheck. And I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Like, coming from Australia, I love America, and you guys are the capital kings of the world. But you're dealing in checks. And I'm like, come on, guys, no one's dealt in checks since the mid-90s. Like, let's get out of this archaic system.
We're a little backwards. I think most people that I know that have a checkbook, the only check they write is for rent. So,
right, exactly.
We're bringing that all online into the new age. And so that I'm excited about that. And other profit centers, not really, just really taking care of the buildings we have. And, we charge asset management fees, we charge an acquisition fee. The big money comes on the promote once we sell the building. We also have a cash flow split, which is cool. We implemented anything above the preferred return to the investor, we split also. So we share 50-50 in that. So that helps us, enables us to have good cash flow if we're, doing well and wanting to hold the properties for the long term, which aligns us with the investors really well.
And as you've grown, I'm sure your structure with your investors has changed over a period of time because you've got more skins on the wall, right? So you said 50-50 after the pref. That's really quite handsome to the GP. Was it always 50-50?
No, we've changed our structure. This is the third time, and just from learning from other mentors, and the first 2 deals we did, we had a preferred rate of return of either 7 or 8 back then. Now they're down to 6 and 7. Mm-hmm. And then anything above the pref, we would use that money to pay down their capital. And then once we sold the building, whatever is left on the pay down, they get first. And then it was a 60-40 split. And then we did that 2 times. And then for the next 10 deals, we did no preferred return, and every dollar went to pay them down. So after, let's say, 5 years, they got maybe, if it averaged 10%, so 50% of their money back. Upon sale, the investor would get the next 50%, and then every additional dollar would be split 75-25. So
to you or to them?
Yeah, 75 to them, 25 to us. So,
wow.
yeah, that one, at the end of the day, it all works out about the same. And then the most current ones, like I said, a 6 or 7 pref, 50-50 above the pref on cash flow only. And then 70-30 on the back end once we sell the building, once they get their money back. So.
And for all those listeners listening out there, I think the takeaway from that is you did whatever the deal structure you needed to do, get the deal done, right, with your investors.
Exactly. And it's tough to change the structure. So we're probably not going to change anymore. But I'd say you got to make them happy and make it a little more investor friendly in the beginning, I think, and develop that track record. But at the same time, it's tough to change. So the investors might get used to whatever way you're doing it. Right, so, right.
But I could also imagine by changing it, these different ways also changes the returns to the investors, right? If you're changing from a payback of investment and then 75-25 is going to be different IRR if you do it, pref return and split 50-50 thereafter, right?
Yeah, totally. So you got to just see the deal. And sometimes it's deal by deal, it could be a different model and stuff. So. Cool.
All right, mate. Well, look, let's, we're going to come towards the end of the show, but I do want to get your thoughts before we do come towards the end of the show with what's happening. What are your thoughts on the market, where we headed, and the R word, is it coming? How are you protecting yourself against it, and what can people do to look out for it if something is coming around the corner?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of deals that are getting crazy bid up, and we just want no part of that in these auctions, and it's tough. We're staying disciplined, and that's why we started buying other asset classes so we can still buy things, and but we're buying, I'd say, a few less deals, but every year we've been buying bigger and bigger deals. It takes the same amount of time and energy to buy a 500 unit building as a 15 unit building, and we can make more money on the big ones. So
right.
Usually there's less competition. So I'd say that's always been key to our growth, is buying bigger and bigger and really stretching that. And the recession, I'd say just keep doing what we're doing in terms of like raising a lot of extra money for our slush fund for each property, long-term fixed rate debt, just being not over leveraged, just being conservative.
What type of percentage points, if you do, for a slush fund, do you raise?
It depends on the deal, depends on the vintage, how old the building is. I'd say usually $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 per unit on average, then up to. And
that's great. That's a good little, and that gets paid back to investors if you don't use it throughout the deal.
Yeah. If we could do a one-time special distribution. I mean, the sucky part is we have to pay a pref on it, but I'd rather have it than have to call it.
Ask for more money. Yeah. No, 100%. Well, mate, it's been absolutely incredible talking to you about raising your profile and raising your business to over $1 billion in assets. It's absolutely huge and well done. But I want to ask, before we get into the lightning round, what's your number one piece of advice for someone sitting out there who wants to become a syndicator, who wants to get involved in the multifamily space or any in commercial space? What's your number one piece of advice for them?
I'd say the hardest part is getting started. Try to find we call them the gray hair, someone that has the experience, a mentor, someone to partner with that believes in you, and you could bring the youth and energy. And, this is for the younger folk out there. I think because we didn't have the experience, but we had that youth and energy and new ideas, and, we partnered with the gray hairs, and that really helped us with our growth. And then, I'd say another thing is this business is not for everyone. You could be happy, if you're happy with your job and making good money, it's good to invest with a group like ours or yourself to really diversify. And it's just really passive. The investors get quarterly distributions and, majority of the upside. And it's just a great way to diversify and, put a few bucks in a lot of the deals rather than owning one little small building yourself or two small buildings or whatever. So I'd say getting started is the hardest part, but the most important, and try to make sure that first deal is a successful one. We have had one of our fourplexes, I think we sold at a loss, and then we came out of our own pocket and paid that investor back just to make them whole. So reputation is extremely important, and we want to say we've never lost anyone money, and we haven't lost anyone money. So
great.
That's also another important one.
That's a fantastic piece of advice for anyone out there listening who is wanting to get involved. And I know Keith will get your contact details at the end of the show. But mate, I do like to ask my guests to give me the top 5 investing tips. You ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Mate, what is the daily habit you practice to keep on track towards your goals?
Daily habit, I'd say I usually, when I get in, I walk around the office and just talk to everyone, see what everyone's up to, make sure we're advancing the ball down the field and making progress. I also have a task list with the most pressing important ones at the top, and I review that every day. And then just getting back to people in a timely manner, I'd say just to continue to grow our business. When I started, we were doing everything. Now we're compartmentalized, and I'm really focused on being the chairman and really seeing the vision and direction our company's going, and overseeing, the personnel, and not as focused on the individual acquisitions or, just really big picture thinking. And we have a great team that could implement our strategy.
I think that's incredible. Do you use any particular, are you a note taker or you're a digital type of guy that takes to-do lists down?
All digital to-do lists. We use Slack in the office. So we have around 18, 19 employees. We're all on Slack communicating with each other, which is great. For our investors, we use IMS, which has been great for reporting to all the investors, and it's all brought us online and reduced the amount of time that our accountants used to cut 1,000 checks a quarter. Now it's very few people are on check. It's all ACH, and much easier for them, and the investors could get their K1s and all the reports online. And so that's been really integral. And yeah, we're always looking at new technologies to implement stuff.
Awesome. Who's been the most influential person in your career to date?
Most influential, I'd say it's a tie between my dad and my wife, I'd say. So without my dad, I wouldn't have that entrepreneurial spirit and fire. And without his support, I wouldn't be able to get to where I was, because as a 24-year-old when I started, I didn't have the financial statement to get on these loans, and he really believed in me. He put a few bucks in our early deals and just helped us grow with his network and his resources. And I love him for that. And he's been always a role model, a mentor. And then my wife, because she's pushed me ever since day one. When I met her, I had one fourplex, or not even, maybe. And, she has always pushed me to be a better person and to really, help me on some of these big decisions. I talk through things with her and stuff. And then also my cousin and business partner, Damien, has made some great decisions along the path. And his father also helped us really learn how to handle all the construction on the projects and oversee the different capital, projects. So it's been a lot of people, but I'd say Damien, my dad, and my wife, like the three of us.
Nice, man. Awesome stuff. If they're listening, you're Keith's most influential person in his career to date. What is the most influential tool and the tool in your business that helps move that, ball down the field, whether it be physical, a hardware, or a software that you use?
I'd say personal relationships. So, over any hardware and software, just being in person, taking the brokers to lunch, meeting other sellers, just being in the business. People know we're active. I want to be in top of mind, top of sight, kind of thing. And just pounding the pavement, I'd say.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. What's been the biggest failure in your career to date? What did you learn from that failure?
Biggest failure, probably maybe in the way beginning, not having partners that are aligned with you and have the same vision could be one. Partnership is like a marriage, and you really have to spend a lot of time and know, who you're partnering with. And we learned a great deal from one of our earlier partners, but just wasn't a good mesh. We're butting heads a lot, and but we wish them well, and they're doing really well and stuff, which is great. Another thing, failure. I mean, financially, we lost money on one deal, but we came out of our pocket to pay that person. Other failures, I'd say, communication, maybe around the office. That's always where things get lost in translation. Always. So if you have an issue with someone, go directly to them instead of to someone else. It just festers and makes it worse. So just open, direct communication with people is most important.
I'm going to throw in another question before my last question, because I'm very intrigued by the fact that you've grown to 18, 19, 20 employees. Has the infrastructure in your business and your leadership changed at all? Going from nothing, from you and your cousin and your dad, and it sounds like your wife, to 19 employees. I'm sure there's been growing pains in that. Do you want to just talk briefly to that?
A lot of growing pains. We started my cousin and I, out of my parents' library, we were working. My cousin lived above the garage and lived in my bedroom at home. So we all, I was saving a lot of money living at home. And then we moved into a small office that was me, my cousin, and another younger gentleman. And then, we just, the last 2-3 years have been some growing pains just because we've scaled so quickly in terms of headcount. We have like 5 people in accounting, and we have, 2 people now in acquisitions and 2 people in asset management, and, just a COO, a CFO, some intern. We have 6 interns now, two like every day they rotate. And just having, our CFO plays like an HR role, which we never really had before. I sort of ran the company. It's still like a family vibe and family run, and, but got to have some procedures and process in place. But it's been great. We have like a corporate retreat coming up Monday through Thursday, which I'm really excited about, with some team building stuff. And that's our second corporate retreat, so we're doing that every year now. Just really,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think it's, I can just hear you, and I can hear in your voice that you've had to grow, right? Because sometimes investors, as you grow towards $1 billion, like even $500 million, even to $100 million in assets, like, investors like to see titles like CFO and HR and acquisition manager and stuff like that, not just Keith Wasserman and his cousin doing everything and anything. And I'm sure you had to do it for many, many years before you got that scale.
We had to do it. We had to learn it. We just didn't have the resources to pay the people. But as we've scaled, more income comes in, and those people will help creating more income. And we everyone in the company, we just implemented where they share in the promote and in the cash flow splits also. And, it's really making everyone a partner.
Right. And I guess it incentivized to make sure that the deal's working and being on top of their game and being the best person they can be for the company, right?
Exactly. Yep.
No, I think you sounds like you've instilled some fantastic qualities with your company. Obviously, you had some growing pains, but that's normal. We're all human, right? So dealing with people and as you said, taking on a property management company would not be something you'd be wanting to do. But really awesome stuff, mate. One last question before we get to the final question is, where did Gelt come from? G-E-L-T.
Yeah, so the word Gelt is a Yiddish word, and it means money, actually. And I like so my grandma was a Holocaust survivor, and I just wanted, the Yiddish language is sort of like a dying language. It was spoken in the old country in Europe. And I wanted a cool word that, like during Hanukkah time, we give these like chocolate coins. They call Hanukkah Gelt. And it was it's just a cute Yiddish word. And, I'd say 50% of people know and 50% don't know what it is. But
my wife should know. She's Jewish, so she should know. So, but I didn't, because I'm not. So, but I wanted to ask. So awesome stuff, mate. Where can people reach you? They want to continue the conversation. They want to find out more about your investment opportunities. They just want to say g'day. Where can they go? Yeah.
So the best way to reach me is via email. It's my name, Keith, Keith @geltinc.com, and Gelt is G like good, E like elephant, L like Larry, T like Tom, and then INC for incorporated.com. You could also follow me. I just made my my Facebook open, my Instagram open, and I'm active on Twitter also. So find me on any of those mediums. Yeah.
You're going to have to get a marketing agent person soon.
Seriously.
Well, mate, I want to thank you so much for dropping by. I just want to quickly summarize some of the things that I took away from today's conversation. I think the big thing is that you, just in what you said in your last sentence, was you've been scrappy for many, many years. You and your cousin had to roll up the sleeves, get involved, and wear many different hats in order to make, to grow. And that's part of, keep it lean, keep it mean, keep it lean, in order to get to that point now where you're at 19, 20 people where they can all create revenue for your company. And that's how you got to that $1 billion. But also you're talking about living at home with your parents and making it work. The other big thing that I took away from today's conversation is the first quad that you did. You got advanced lines on credit cards, you borrowed people's money, and that also relates to how you've changed the way in which you structure your deals with your investors. Now, you did anything you could to get the deal done. And I think that's really, really important. You're not afraid to roll up the sleeves. And I guess that's maybe been the secret sauce in terms of, and I guess persistence, because you wouldn't be here 10 years later and $1 billion of assets without some sort of persistence and keep going, that mindset to keep going, right?
Yep, 100%.
Did I leave anything out?
No, I think that's it. And I appreciate you having me on the show. And let's, if anyone wants to contact me with any questions or concerns or whatever, I'm available. And yeah, this was awesome. Really, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Keith, for dropping by. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another great episode jam-packed with some incredible investing advice and actionable steps. Remember, if you do want to hit up Keith, jump over to my website at reedgoosens.com, click on the podcast. All the links on today's show will be in the show notes. Make sure you reach out to Keith, pick his brain, because he's an absolutely incredible guy. Now, thank you. I want to thank all my loyal listeners for taking some time out of their day to tune in, to continue to grow their financial IQ, because that's what we're all about on this show. And we're going to do this all again next week. So take care, be safe, and remember, happy investing.